So right now I'm going to talk fairly briefly about effect stacking. If you took 205 with me and we did max MSP or max jitters together, you noticed that you were pinning these video sequences together and you were putting chains of effects. So you were taking a signal and you were running it through all these various effects. And I always used to say, sequence matters. Well, nothing's really different in After Effects. Sequence still matters in After Effects. Sometimes it matters more than others, but nonetheless, it's really important to note that sequence matters in terms of how you can stack effects. So we're used to adding single effects onto things. And right now I'm going to use, just for the sake of just doing something, I'm going to put a generate effect on top of this. And, I'm sorry, I'm not going to put a generate effect on top of this. I meant to say I'm going to put a keying effect on top of this. So there's lots of different keying effects. Key light is really the one that you use to pull green screens out, and it's really whiz bang and it's the best. But just to keep things simple and just to get a point across, I'm going to actually use a color key, which is pretty old school, but that's how we used to do it back in the day, was just to use color key. I'm going to go ahead and, for example, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to grab out a certain color of blue, and I'm going to give it a color tolerance. So at this point, it's important to note that I can toggle on a transparency grid like in Photoshop. So really, I've gone in here and I can go ahead and I can see where the alpha channel is on this piece. And if you notice, as I run the footage, you can see that I've keyed out, it's not very good looking, but I have keyed out some of this blue here. And if I reduce it back a little bit, I can see that this key bed here comes up as a certain color, and you can create an alpha channel around that. You can do a different number of things on it. So let's go in here and we'll talk a little bit about how, now that I've added this effect in here, I can add other effects underneath of it that are going to carry on and work with the different work with this now that it's had an effect applied to it. It's a little bit hard to articulate, but once you see it in action, you'll know what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and I'm going to add a choker to it, a really simple choker. And what choker does is it'll take the edge of an alpha channel and it'll actually peel the alpha channel back a little bit, right? So now that I've got a simple choker, I can take this and now that I've got an alpha channel that was created from this effect, I can go on here and simple choker, and you can see that I'm starting to peel the edges back a little bit and smooth them out, right? So this is an example of how you can take the effects that were applied through the color key, what this was applied through the color key, and then you can choke it back, or you can do different things. What you apply after that now has an effect on that. So it goes through color key first, and then simple choker is applied to the footage with the color key. So if I go ahead and I turn color key off, you'll notice that I'm actually just choking the top and the bottom where the alpha channel is. Well, if I turn color key back on, you'll notice now that now it matters what the color key is. So it's a fairly complex concept to grasp, but let's hang with it. Say for example, I was to add a little bit of noise to something. Let me go ahead and add some noise to it now, and I'm going to make it fairly noisy, right? So now I'm applying noise to whatever comes out of my simple choker, right? But what if I wanted to apply noise? What if I wanted to grab it and add it a little bit higher in the stack? So now I'm applying noise before I do the simple choker. But what if I applied noise before I did the color key? Well, it's interesting now because I'm trying to key a color, but it's being disrupted by all of this noise. So sometimes you can really negate an effect by sticking it in the wrong part of a stack. And you can see now as I take that noise off, I'll get this jittery effect kind of going on with my color key. So, hey, sequence matters, right? So if I stack these in a different order, I just get a different effect, right? So I can go ahead and I can take the noise off, I can take the color key off, let's take the choker off. So let's just go ahead and go with noise. I can delete these from the stack, right? Let's go back and do our glow, for example. Let's add a glow effect to it. Okay, so as I peel this back and I go ahead and I make the threshold higher, right? you can see how I get an interesting effect here with the noise kind of glomming onto the glow and all that stuff. And this might make for a fairly interesting transition. But once I take the noise off, though, the glow changes quite a bit. There's these aspects of the image that have that aren't quite as bright or that are not within the threshold. So if I turn noise on and off, I definitely get a different effect here. If I was to put glow on top of noise, you'll see I still get a way different effect here. So instead of glow being applied to the stack after the noise has been done, and after it makes everything look like it's glommed together, I'm actually applying noise to the footage that has the glow on it. So just to give you a simplified view of this is glow. We're applying glow before noise. We get something that looks like this, very distinct. I take the glow and I apply it after the noise, and hey, look, we get something just entirely, just something that looks completely different. And this is really just a matter of me changing the sequence. So here you go. Sequence matters, and that's just something to keep in mind as you move forward. So go ahead and create something where you're stacking in different orders and getting different effects.